We got hards on. We're going to the end.
Did somebody say we've got Hards on? That's right, because we're going to the end. This is Hards on episode. I have no idea at Texas at the Texas Grand Prix. We're gonna go through all the stuff. It's been a long time actually. I don't think there is any sort of recurring viewers here, but I feel like in the off chance there is, I should probably be like, hey, welcome again. It's been a long time. I did sort of maybe tease the idea of actually doing some kind of podcasts in this break, and I did zero. I don't know. I really have respect, right, for the people who like do podcasts in those breaks and talk about the news or just other shit. But when it came to doing extra predictions or like ranking drivers based on this or talking about the news and stuff, I just basically didn't do it. There is no excuse apart from I did not. But we're back in the race, and I gotta say, being out of sync for races and then being on a weekend, and especially coming back with a sprint race and not like the normal format, I missed so much shit, or at least like the first half of it. Like, I think I completely missed sprint quali. I think. Then, or I watched it, but I have no memory of it. One of the two. Then the sprint race, I did not see any of. I saw like the last lap. So I'm completely lost there. Qualifying, I think I just missed Q1. And this isn't because like I was like, I'm boycotting or anything. You know, fuck the US of A or anything like that. That wasn't the case. It was more just, I knew the times as well, but I just kept forgetting. And it was evening. I'm used to the races being like midday or like 10 in the morning. So it just completely threw me for a loop, and I kept missing stuff. And even the race, I missed the start. But I watched the whole race. I probably came in on like lap 4. So I'm all over the place. So when it comes to rate my quali, I have no idea because I've got some notes here. I've got no idea what part of these notes came from sprint quali, qualifying, the race. I don't know, but I know these things. I do believe these things were actually facts that did happen. So, now we got that whole thing out of the way. I'll probably rank the whole, because I'm just going to rank it all in one, everything outside of the race itself, and I'll give it all a tight 7. And let me tell you why. It's a 7 because some fun stuff happened, some stuff you maybe wouldn't predict. But what I would say is it was stuff that it is the predictable, unpredictable. Like, you want to be unpredictable, but you predict these things. Like, you want to predict a big car to not do well. You predict Perez to finish low. It's not that out of the ordinary for Hamilton to go out in Q1 or like to go out early. It feels like it happens not often, but like he wasn't having a great weekend. Norris was like on pole. That's not the craziest thing in the world. It feels like in recent times, like fun stuff happens, but it was like these are like they happen a lot now. But Norris was on pole. He was on pole, and I don't think he would have remained on pole if it wasn't for George Russell right at the last moment, saved by the bell end. Yeah, he saved him there, to be fair. And like, it feels like it has been a while since we've had a qualifying finish in that kind of way, where it's like, the last kind of time I can remember, there definitely was one before, like, more recent than this, but like Leclerc at Monaco, and I feel like that was ages ago. So there must have been another one decided by someone crashing out, definitely, but just not like a big one that I remember. And I feel like Verstappen was gonna probably take that pole, and probably, well, the Ferraris seem to have this weekend, which is kind of crazy because no one's talking about the Ferraris. Like, the Ferraris are not the talking point to come out of this weekend. But they were the fastest car this weekend for some reason. They had their shit together. And that was probably the only reason why, like, every bad spell and curse was put on Hamilton this week. And the fact that he was kind of just taken in his stride and didn't care. His radios were along the lines of, sorry guys. My fault, my bad. Guys, why did you put me out early? You know what? Never mind. Like he almost got angry on one of the radios, and he was like, nah, fuck it, forget it. And I think it's just because, in the back of your mind, when you're like, I'm going to be wearing the Ferrari red, driving next to Charles Leclerc, it's just a picturesque place to be. So you've got that little carrot dangling in front of you, at least, for your future. It's not like all doom and gloom. But, yeah, Norris was saved in the end there, but, obviously they didn't know it at the time, but they all had a chance to put in one lap, and that lap was obviously going to be more important than they all thought. But they all had a chance to put in that lap, and he put in the best lap. He dished it out, and that was when it happened to have mattered, and he did deliver. Speaking of people who just didn't deliver, Sergio Perez, fucks it. Lap time deleted, P10, and like, it's just, the Perez thing is just an absolute joke because like he should. It just if Lawson like had that seat and looks to maybe like if he had the season that he's suggesting he may have had based off of today's race, if you get what I'm trying to say, then Perez would be unemployed right now. Unemployed is such a funny way to describe it as a driver losing their seat because obviously they probably get paid out, and either way, it's not like being unemployed as a F1 driver is like the worst thing in the world. But you know, regardless, would have been unemployed, you know, and he wouldn't be here right now. Sergio Perez doing badly. It's not fun to talk about anymore. It's not fun to dunk on him. Perez isn't even a particularly unlikable person, so it's not like we're finally getting to see someone like Fail, who's been such a villain for a long time. He's just like a relatively nice guy. He's never been one of my favorites, and he just isn't it anymore. And I guarantee if he went to like Aston Martin, obviously he would do a better job than Lance Stroll. I'm not saying he's the worst driver on the grid, but just right now in this Red Bull seat, the amount of like time he's been given, and to be fair, he achieved more than Gasly and he achieved more than Albon, so he deserves that time. But just like it's never gonna turn around. Like it's not. It's like watching a football game, right? You know, like Fergie time, Man United always come back. Even in City this season, Johnny Stones, Johnny Stones, like the last minute goals, right? I mean, it's only two, but he done it against Arsenal, done it on the weekend against Wolves, and it's like, as a fan of a team who always gets last minute winners, you're always going to be expecting, even if we're losing, we'll come back. But it's like, if you're 7-0 down, stop thinking, don't put 50 quid down on a comeback City to win. You will lose your money. Like, when the fun stops, stop. Like, no more putting money down on Sergio Perez turning it all around. We are too far gone at this point. And to be honest, like around sort of Budapest, I think it was it? That's not it. Not Budapest. What's it called? Azerbaijan, the street circuit. Sergio Perez loves the street circuit. I believe he loves Baku. Does well there. He had a little decent race. I think for like a 2-week period, like a 2-race period, he looked a little bit better, and people were saying like, oh, maybe a Perez redemption. Maybe Perez is back. No. Perez is right back in P10 where he will continue to be. And I want to just, like, I can't speak too long about Sergio Perez in one increment, because it's like it just does my head in. So I want to sprinkle Sergio Perez hate throughout this episode. And that's the first little bit there. We also had Fernando versus Lawson beef, which honestly, not that I look at myself as someone who's meant to be educating you guys on what happened on the weekend. I'm sure you saw every little thing from the cool down rooms. I actually didn't watch the cool down room, so I don't know if anything interesting happened there. Probably was an awkward one. But that's what I mean. I'm just sort of sync right now. I didn't see the cool down room. I missed so many of the qualifyings and like all that stuff. And like this whole Fernando Lawson thing, like I knew it happened, but it's all just gone like, it's been like bullets straying past me and I haven't quite caught any of them. All I know, I think, is like one of them cut one of the other ones up. They had a bit of verbal. Lawson said something like, this guy's an idiot or something, or like that Aston Martin's an idiot, or maybe Fernando was the one who said that about Lawson, I'm not sure. I think Alonso said something along the lines of, I don't care, it's not my future at stake, like I'm not the one whose future is in the balance here. Like, this guy can get stressed out about. Like, if you want to fuck around with me, fuck around and find out I got a C next year. Like, you're the one who needs this, which is like kind of the coldest thing in the world, but kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm getting the ick on Alonso, because I never really had the hots from him in the first place. DTS fan, you've caught me red-handed, but yeah, I haven't seen Alonso at his peak times, but like I listened to the Red Flags podcast, right? So if you listen to Formula One podcast, you probably know who they are, and they're not the hottest on Sebastian Vettel, and I feel like Alonso is kind of my Sebastian Vettel, where it's like when there's a GOAT who you didn't really live through their era, and I know this doesn't really work. Well, I didn't live through Hamilton's era, but when I was watching, he was still winning, I guess. But either way, when you didn't live through certain GOAT's era, and then you're on the tail end, you're kind of like, you don't have that same respect for them. And it's not that I don't respect Alonso, I don't think he's a great driver, but it's just that I don't have that burning passion and love for him because I didn't watch him, and like, I don't know, he plays the villain well and stuff, but that comment there, it's kind of like, you know, it just comes from a place of, I don't know, and also I don't think his performances have been that good this year. I feel like he has kind of fallen off a bit. Like, can we not pretend? Has anyone else noticed this? Alonso and Stroll are getting closer and closer together in terms of like the qualifying, I think anyway, and like their race finishes. And Alonso's still ahead of Stroll, but I don't think, like, it's not as embarrassing as it should be, in terms of that gap. And I don't know, I feel like he's slowly, and because he's not a big team, no one's going to notice it straight away, but he's slowly kind of falling off a little bit. And now he's getting in spats with rookie Lawson. And Lawson did him, I thought, this weekend in terms of what on the track. And I just feel like the comment like, ain't my future. It's kind of like, I don't like when goats get comfortable. When it's like, I did my work, and now I can just sort of saunter around on this team, sort of Kimi Räikkönen style. That pisses me off. And I love when someone new can come in and just sort of clock them one. But yeah, we'll see how that develops over the rest of this season. And then the final thing I have here is, so Hamilton seemed to just have like a week from hell. His car was not carring, and did he crash out in qualifying? He went out early, went on Q1 in qualifying. And George Russell had some kind of issue, or he just wasn't doing well either. And George Russell George Russell's the one who, handed Norris his pole. And then Russell was like, yeah, that's annoying because now I fucked my new parts for the race, and that's annoying. Because I was meant to be starting in a decent place, and all it was like P6 or 5, he qualified maybe. And then he goes, obviously Hamilton has new parts, and I don't because I crashed my car. And Hamilton kindly offered me his new parts, but we won't be doing that. And it's like, yeah, you won't. Yeah, of course you won't be. Like, I would have real worry about George Russell's livelihood if he openly said on air, Hamilton will be giving me his new parts for the race, while he starts in P18 with the crap car, like as he should, as the number 2 driver, give me his, because like that's basic. This is mirroring like when, not really, but like actually kind of, when Albon crashed and then he got to drive Sargent's car. Like, I'm the number 1 and you're crap and the team don't believe in you. So even when I make mistakes, I'm gonna get your vehicle because I'm number 1 and we need to maximize the weekend. If that had mirrored with Mercedes, and listen to what I'm about to say, Russell being Albon in this situation, and Lewis Hamilton being Logan Sargent, yeah, you're damn right he's gonna stay on live TV. Hamilton kindly, and I must emphasize kindly, offered me his parts, but we won't be doing that. Look straight down the barrel of the camera. We won't be doing that because Russell gets a lot of hate as it is. Sometimes I'm warranted most of the time I'm warranted from a lot of the Mercedes fans because obviously they're ride or die Hamilton. And that would have been a massacre. Like, even if the whole team were like, Jules, you reckon you should do this? Hamilton's like, yeah, sure, just fuck it, do it. Russell, it's like, hey, it's that, my stocks are already down. Let's get into the race though. It was a typical Norris start, and we're at a point now where we can start, like, Norris has coined that kind of start. We can start using, like, oh, they did a Norris. When someone starts a race on pole, like, overextends and tries to defend against whoever's in P2 and ends up losing 2-3 places instead of just 1. He does it a lot. Like, he starts, on pole. He goes in, defends quite hard, goes all the way wide. Opportunists in P2 and 3 and 4 and 5 or whatever drive up the inside, and he ends up losing out more. And it was just a typical Norris race in general, unfortunately, as someone who is a Norris guy. Yeah, that's right. If you've forgotten that, I'm a Norris guy. So yeah, it's not easy being me. But, McLaren's weren't the quickest car this weekend, which I just want to say again, because, it's annoying, and I get it's just rivalry. People love to, just do this stuff. It's all bait in a way. But I don't really feel like on F1 Twitter you get a lot of bait like you do on football Twitter. But, so it must just be people who genuinely are just saying these things. I'm just going to run with it. But, McLaren's weren't the quickest car. The Ferraris were obviously the quickest car over the weekend. And, I would argue the Red Bull was quicker as well. Like, the Red Bull out and out had at least one of the qualities. It would have had the other one too if it wasn't a crash. It was ahead in the sprint, right? And was it? Yeah, it was. Verstappen won the sprint. And, I don't know. I just think that McLaren's been good for a while, but it's like most of the race, not most of the race, but a lot of races, it has went back and forth between which car's quickest. We can't just be like every race where Norris isn't on pole or isn't winning, it's an embarrassment because you just haven't won and you're in the quickest car. That doesn't apply this weekend. I don't think he had the quickest car. I think he managed to pull pole out the bag with a bit of luck and not with the quickest car. He maximised something that was good. The issue is, though, is I think that now we're in a place where he has the same amount of wins this season as Leclerc, is that right? Which kind of just shows where the difference is in how good they are. I'm someone who would have put Norris toe-to-toe with like any driver at a point. But now I've seen him at the sharp end of things, and I mean the sharpest end, which is winning races. And it's like, if you look at the car that Norris has had, he's managed to grab 3 wins from that. And if you look at how Leclerc has somehow clawed himself 3 wins out of his car and situation for most of the season, that's being opportunistic. That is maximizing the most you can when you can. And Leclerc's someone who went a long time getting poles and not converting them. Yeah, against a very dominant Red Bull, but like, yeah, he's kind of just shown like Norris has ways to go still. And people saying, oh, is Norris not him? Norris not him, question mark. You know, is Norris not the one? And it's like, yeah, he's not right now this season. But I think going into next season, with like some real like defined rules of how we're going to drive against each other, what we're aspiring for the season, how good we think our car is, where we think we're going to stack up. No more little brother, little like boy mentality type thing. Like going in like, oh, we're the guys now. We had the quickest car for a lot of last season. Going into it with that mentality, like we're going in to win a driver championship right this year, instead of like being like, oh, finding yourself in that space this season and being like, oh, are we in this now? Oh, are we going for this then? Are we? We're in a driver fight. Are we? It's like, are we not? It never really felt like anyone truly believed that. Even your own teammate Piastri didn't believe it. It seemed like the team, although they was emotionally blackmailing you for a lot of the races, it seemed like they never really believed it. They only really believed in the constructors. And you're like 50 points off, and it's not happening this year. So just like, I feel like going into next year, if they got a same kind of dominant car and a new headspace, it's like knuckle down and go for it and don't fumble. Because there's been a lot of times where it's like, are we doing it? Are we not? Are we 1 foot in, 1 foot out type thing? It's been unsure. So we'll see. But McLaren's weren't the quickest car. So I feel like a lot of the people were being like, why is Norris not overtaken Verstappen yet? Why has he not got past him yet? And it's like, well, Norris's tyres are, yeah, they're 6 laps younger. That's not the craziest thing in the world. And I believe that Red Bull's faster. And you know what pisses me off about this Red Bull thing? Is that people never want it. I get it, Verstappen's a great driver. But Sergio Perez ain't half the ugly friend, if you know what I'm saying. Like, Sergio Perez is over there stinking up the gaff, right? Making Verstappen look like, well, Verstappen, because Verstappen is great. But what I'm trying to say is that every weekend we look at Verstappen and say he's maxed out the car this weekend. He's maxed it out, Max Verstappen. And it's like, maybe some weekends he hasn't. Maybe some weekends he's got 80% out of the car. But Sergio Perez is over there getting 20% out of the car, making Verstappen look like a king. It's like, people are saying, I think the Red Bull was a quicker car. And like, the McLaren in the race against the Red Bull always makes it difficult to just get those overtakes where you can just drive past them, and get it done before the corner. But like he would come out of certain corners like 3 tenths behind, and that still wasn't enough just to breeze past on the straight. I just feel like Perez, because he's so crap. I mean, he got beat this race by Russell, who started in the fucking pit lane. And I think maybe Perez did as well, actually. But I don't even remember because I didn't watch the start of the race. But like, here's the thing though. Even if Perez also started at the back, they both had the same opportunity to drive through the whole pack, and he was fighting with Colapinto and stuff. And this is what I mean. It makes Verstappen just look amazing. It's like, I don't think it's that crazy. I think Verstappen had a slightly better car. Norris had slightly better tyres, enough where he could close the gap and chase. And he was trying to like not do anything rash. He's probably thinking about Austria, or whichever track it was in his mind, where like, I tried to, wait and then get a bit dirty, and then we end up crashing. I still want to get points here. I'm only going to go for the move when I really feel like I've got it type thing. And he had the laps to do that. He didn't have to rush it. Like, he had the laps in the bank to know, like, we've got like 9 laps here. Like, I'm so close to behind it. I've got time here to like choose my overtaking wisely. And ultimately, it's fucking bullshit. It is and it isn't though, isn't it, right? Because it's like, it's bullshit because it's Max Verstappen, outbraking himself, pushing you wide, going off track, jumping on the radio being like, Norris went off and gained an advantage, knowing exactly what he just did. But at the same time, it's like, is it though? Like, is it bullshit? Because if you know, like, I have no problem with Verstappen driving like this and pulling out these dark art tactics, because the same reason I have no issue with Magnussen driving like an absolute terrorist on track, Bullet Bill style, knocking everyone else off the road. It's the stewards and the people enforcing the rules and like keeping everyone in check that's annoying. Like, I'm not like people who love Hamilton, like they're pissed at like Max or like Christian Horner or stuff, like Red Bull as a unit in general. For the whole Hamilton versus Verstappen thing, like, you know, overtaken under the safety car thing or whatever. It's like, yeah, he got told he's allowed to, and then he did it. You're angry at Michael Massey, right? I'm angry at the man. And like, I don't know, I just feel like it's bullshit. They put out a little document, and it's like, I watch sports a lot. I watch football a lot. And I feel like when you're watching these teams like Man City who dominate every year, they don't need the help. And yet they get the best luck when it comes to VAR decisions. And I know these are all kind of like, subjective decisions, and like sometimes there's a grey area where there is no right and wrong, but it's like, why is the team that's always dominating, always at the top, who doesn't need this extra help, always just naturally somehow comes off with the best luck when it comes to these subjective 50-50 decisions? It is infuriating. I'm not calling it corruption, I'm not saying anyone's been paid off, I don't know what it is, but in sport, these top teams who do not need it always get it, and it is infuriating. And their reason being, they said Norris wasn't far ahead enough at the apex, which is just like, it's we have rules, like, as far as I can tell, simple rules, which is you can't go off the track and overtake and gain an advantage, and that way you got to give the pace back. You need to be ahead at the apex, right? Let's say those are the two main rules. But how are we interpreting these rules within the context of the race and the drivers who are watching race? Like, am I allowed to just keep driving straight and brake way too late, never going to make a corner, drive off the track, push you off the track, you then go ahead, and then you're allowed to just say, no. And if that's the case, Verstappen, of course, is a genius, because he does it, he's done it his whole career, and it's got him multiple championships, whatever. He's a world champion, he's great. But it's like, it is bullshit that we've seen other drivers do it on the same track in the flip reversal, and they all got 5-second penalties. Everyone's calling it bullshit. I'm not crazy. Because these guys are going to put out a statement, and a few Red Bull fans are on Twitter telling me why we're all wrong, when gaslighting is gaslighting. Everyone, like, that's what they're doing. It's insane. Everyone, and I know some people got like their own like finger in this pie and that pie, why they would be annoyed. Like, Toto saying it's bullshit, like, no, in the first place, you look at it and you go, why is Toto saying it's bullshit? Like, if he's saying it's bullshit, like, he's got no foot in, like, he doesn't care about if Norris wins this race or if Verstappen wins. But then you step out of it and go, of course he's got a big rivalry with that whole organisation and the Hamilton thing. Of course they're going to jump and call them bullshit whenever they can. Like, everyone who's called it bullshit probably has some kind of, like, you know, 6 degrees of separation for why they got fucked over by Red Bull at some point. But it's just like, it is, like, what are you meant to do? If someone is going to repeatedly just outbrake themselves, drive off the track as far as he did, it was clear as day he was off the track, and then you go around, I guess, like, Norris should have just immediately given him the place back, because that was always going to happen, and just hoped he could have done it in the last 2-3 laps. But, like, probably the same thing would have happened, or they would have ended up crashing, or he just wouldn't have got done, and then either way, Verstappen still gets the place ahead of you. It's like, the only way he was ever going to get ahead is overtaken before the corner, trying to overtake on the inside if Verstappen didn't close that door, and then do the same thing to Verstappen. But can we all not, like, if he did the same thing to Verstappen, tries to go on the inside, pushes Verstappen wide, do you not think the same, like, that would have been a flip of what happened here? Like, it's just like, he doesn't need it. Like, Red Bull don't need these little 50, like, these decisions when they're in every other scenario, they're going the other person's way. And I've spent so long talking about this because it's like, yeah, it's irrelevant and it shouldn't matter. Like, Norris shouldn't be having so many bad starts from pole. Like, it's just a quintessential Norris race. He shouldn't be doing that. Like, having to fight back in that way and doing these, you know, offset the tyre strategies and this and that. But, like, ignoring all of that, it's bullshit, man. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And obviously there's a way to drive around this, but like the who we call the GOAT, the greatest of all time, who like, yeah, there was probably swings and roundabouts, but for the most part they were equal cars in that season, Hamilton versus Verstappen. Who we label the GOAT, 7, 8 if you're feeling nasty, world champion, right? Trying to go up against this Verstappen and how he'll drive. And yeah, Silverstone, sometimes you go off, what is it, Monza or Imola, one of the two. Yeah, you get a tyre on your head. Like, it's not even like there is and he lost, or he went into the final race on the same point. It's like, this is one of the best, trying to like counter Verstappen's dark arts. And even best case scenario, still coming out of it with a fractured skull, alright, sending someone into the gravel trap. Like, you really gotta not care about crashing, I feel like. And you gotta be willing to crash, and sometimes you come off worse, sometimes he comes off worse. Because in the Austria thing, one or the other could have came off worse. You gotta kind of go into it with that mentality. Whereas he's more like, no, I want to get through cleanly, and and argue about it later. And it's like, that's not gonna work. And yeah, it's just one of those things. So I can't, it's like, I can kind of be hard on Norris a little bit in the situation, but I'm also kind of just like, can I though? With how, I don't know. I'm exhausting myself. Ferrari got a 1-2 this weekend. Did anyone care? Did anyone even remember? Did anyone notice? I'm sure there's a bunch of, the Tifosi are probably all like, you know, in his hysteria right now, but honestly, when I was like checking over the race result this weekend, I was like, oh yeah, it was a Ferrari 1-2. That's like crazy. It's got what is that like? Has that happened recently? It's just like, damn, okay. And nobody cares, obviously, apart from if you are. I was gonna say if you bleed red, but that is most people. Albon's washed, by the way. I'm just gonna chuck that out there real quick. Colapinto is just the guy. I have no idea what his personality is like or what he's like, or if he's someone I'm really gonna back. Apparently he's hilarious. But it's like the Oasis thing. I don't speak Spanish, you know? Does he speak Spanish? He's from Argentina, right? I think they speak Spanish in Argentina. But either way, I don't speak his language, so no comprende. And it don't always translate the same with subtitles. So, regardless though, I'm a Colapinto man. And like, it's all like relative, isn't it? Because if this weekend happened the exact same way, but with Logan Sargent would have probably finished 20th, and you look at this weekend and go, great work from Albon, maximizing the car. Yeah, he was like P14 or something, but Sargent was P20 and he had a really decent race with some decent overtakes. But now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're still finishing these races where you were before, but now instead of the guy, your teammate, being P20, he's now like in the points, getting fastest laps and stuff. And it's like, it's so difficult in a team because it's like, at one minute you're saying this guy is maximizing the car, then all of a sudden a teammate comes in and he's doing 10 times better. And then it's like, does this mean Albon's crap or does this mean Colapinto's generational? It's like, it's all just like which way you want to compare it. It's like, I don't know. Either way, it's not a great look for Albon, who's meant to be the fucking president of that team. He calls the shots. You know, James Vowles mini-me. But I don't know. I'm not been too impressed with Alonso recently. Not Alonso, Albon. And Yuki Tsunoda's kind of haven't had a similar sort of shock to the system this weekend. Because when Albon in that first race with Colapinto, when Colapinto overtook him, and he was on the radio like, what the freak, man? What was that? And it's like, you just got overtaken, Albon. I know you haven't experienced this in a while, but that was called an overtake from your teammate. Like, Yuki had a similar thing where Lawson drove a great race. He came out, great strategy, was ahead of him, got into the points, P9, went up 10 places, I think, in this race. And Yuki had this kind of radio like, what just happened? What was that? Because he's driven so long against Ricciardo, who's not quite been at it. And he's had weekends where Ricciardo was ahead and where it was actually a lot closer than people make out the Ricciardo Tsunoda thing towards the end of it. But Lawson's came in and he's angry. And I've got to say, Rick Nation, I've got to say I'm like a casual member. Like, I'm not like gold tier, but you know, I dabble in Rick Nation. And I kind of get it. They want Lawson to do bad because it makes Ricciardo look better in a way, right? But it's like, just stop with the Ricciardo narrative. I love Ricciardo as well. He was one of my favourites. But he's gone now. They put a bullet in his head, right? And it's like, what? Are you just going to watch the rest of the sport for the rest of your life still being a Ricardo fan and never picking someone new. Like, you gotta fill that void. The whole narrative for the rest of your life can't be comparing this situation to Ricardo getting fucked over, right? In your mind, that's how it went, right? So it's like, find a new guy, and hey, guess what? That new guy might be here already. He might have been the guy who just replaced the guy. Lawson. It's like in Football Manager when you get a regen of like R9 Ronaldo. Like, he's right here. Lawson's here. Lawson actually might be the modern day, embodiment of fuck 'em all. You know, in the realest way possible. He's came in and said to, how many times has Alonso won, like a 2-time, 3-time champion? And he's literally like, fuck you. Alonso is like, I'm not the one, my career's not at stake. I'm not the one who's fighting for a seat next season. And he's like, fuck you. He used to live and like, and he was roommates with Yuki Tsunoda living in Milton Keynes. He was living in Milton Keynes, right? Picking up Yuki's socks, best buddies through the driver academy, and he is now in a seat next to him. We saw us the first time around, and it's like, fuck you, man. Yeah, like when he doesn't give a fuck in the best way possible, and it's like, you know, Aussie, Kiwi. That was probably heinous to say, but you know, it's like, yeah, it's the best you're gonna get. Okay, and Lawson could be here for a long time. Like, he definitely ain't here for a good time. So he'll be here for a long time, right? And he, all without saying fuck 'em all, he is fuck 'em all. I can't lie, might be a Lawson guy. Anything else I want to cover from the race? Verstappen. Just that I'm ready for the season to be over, really. I'm ready for the season to be so over because there's nothing really for me anymore. But obviously, I still look forward to all the races. I just mean that, like, God, it's getting hard, it's getting clowned every race week. But I need it to end on a high note. And I need it to end giving me faith and hope for the new season when it comes to the people I back. Who, honestly, at the moment, it's looking like Norris, obviously, Hamilton, and Lawson's knocking on that door. He's ringing the bell. Let's get into the awards. So soft, medium, hard awards. I've really been shouting. I feel like I'm not even taking breaks for a lot of that race, but I got really heated there. I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if it came across, but I maybe got a little bit heated talking about the Verstappen Norris thing. And if you didn't notice, your ears probably noticed. So sorry for that. Soft is going to be Perez. I'm not even sorry. Did I say sorry? But if I did say sorry, I'm not sorry. It's Perez. We're too used to how ridiculously mid. It's not even mid at this point. These performances are, and I'm bored of it. When he goes out early in qualifying, I'm like, okay, I saw that. Like, everyone's seen it coming. When he has these races, it's not even in a fun way. He's not crashing or like, you know, it's not like it's this big sort of fall from grace. You know, it's not like he's getting tattoos on his face and like he's just crashing out in the street. It's like, you know, he's like, it's just like he's just quietly being rubbish every week, and I'm bored of it. Medium, I'm going to give to Lando because it's a vintage Lando performance, which is like, flop the start, have a great drive from there on out, or a great recovery drive, make the best of the situation to claw back what you can, and then get Verstappen. And it's just like, if you're going to flop the start, like, iron out one of the two. Please iron out flopping the start, or please iron out getting Verstappen, and then we might get somewhere. And the hard one I'm going to give to Lawson. I got to, because he is vengeance. You know, he is the shadows, and he has that whole energy with that fucking the black eye makeup. Like, he's just came in like someone's really like he's came in like someone's like said your mum, or like he's came in like he's really been fucked over. And I know he should have had a seat way earlier, maybe. But he just came in with he could have came in if it was like and had an F1 seat at 16 years old, and he still would have this energy. He's just like that. Him in like Drive to Survive, it's fucking bullshit. Their fucking seat's mine. Like, that was not even the right accent, but that probably endeared me to him there. And just know he's not coming back for 15%. He's coming back for everything. AKA, he's not just coming back for a seat. He's coming back for Perez's seat. Red Bull, get fucked. That's what he wants, probably. It's not even, I'm just here for a seat. Like, Alonso's chatting to him like, I'm not the one whose future's in danger. I'm not the one who's, like, trying his best to hang on for whatever seat he can get. Whereas Lawson in his mind is just like not even listening. It's all just to him. It's like the Red Bull seat's on the table, and the Red Bull seat will be gotten, and it will be gone by me. So, and yeah, he's a killer droid, and I'm here for it. I don't know how this episode was. I feel like I'm a little bit out of sync with stuff. I didn't really feel like I ever got into a flow state there, and I was shouting quite a lot. But I was het up, and I'm sorry. The next race is I don't know where. I'll check. Not for you. Well, for you if you don't know, but you probably definitely do. F1. I always forget. It's becoming tradition. F1 Calendino. Where we go? We're going Mexico. We got Mexico, Brazil. Is that it? Are you taking piss? No, that can't be it. We're not ending in Las Vegas. Oh, thank God, there's more. Oh my God, thank God, there's more. Qatar, Abu Dhabi. There's 5 more races left. 5 more races to save my bacon. 5 more races to save my like Norris isn't winning. Okay, I probably came to that conclusion months ago, but I didn't want to admit it. But I just need at least hope, and if you can give me 3 out of the 5 races, Norris. I know it's a big ask, but can you do something for me? Is it straight next weekend, or have we got a little break? Not that we need one. We've just had a month. 27th of October. Oh, we're straight back into things. That's what we like to see. I'll see you then. We got hard, so we're going to the end. Thank you, and goodbye.